What's happening, everybody? Welcome to Bash on the Buttons, the last one. Can you believe it? We are already through the first month of 2026. What the hell? Of course, we just finished up WrestleMania X8 for GameCube. Last week, I had COVID. Yes, true story. And now here we are. I'm on the mend. Of course, all my other markout moment brethren are out, and sister in Pondwater and Dollar Bill Dave are in Alabama. I'm sorry, in Atlanta, Georgia is where they are for Top Guy Rumble with ad-free shows. Timmy is on a swingers cruise going to Barbados or wherever those people go. I don't know. But I'm here because the reason why I'm not in Atlanta is because this weekend is Inappropriate Trivia from the charity board I am on here in LaPorte, Indiana. And we have over 600 people paying to attend. And this is number 10. And we've set a record this year already for most money raised for charity. And we haven't even done it yet. That is tomorrow night. So that's why I'm here. Why you're here is so we can go back and play some Super Nintendo, Super WrestleMania, to be precise, for the SNES. But before we do, I think we should make ourselves an adult beverage. Get out the booze. Let's have a little cocktail. We're going to talk some wrestling tonight, some video games. We're going to talk football. We got Super Bowl next weekend. And I told you guys in passing, especially during the WrestleMania X8 show, that when I made the proof of concept for this Bash on the Buttons, this was the game I picked to do it with. So I have so many notes to go off of this game. And we're going to have a hoot. But since this is week one, Super WrestleMania, those of you who have been with us week after week after week, there's been a lot of you, you know how we start this. So let's relive the sounds of our childhood as we boot up our Super Nintendo. Hulkamania Titan Sports Inc. 1991. Classic LJN sound. And we can't play too much or we'll get booted off YouTube. As you can hear there in my laugh, I'm over it, but you know, my chest is still a little affected from the COVIDs. That is incredibly long. There we go. Oh yeah, Wrestling Challenge. There we are, folks. Super WrestleMania. So again, I have so many notes for this game because again, when I did the proof of concept, this was the game I picked. And if this is the first time you're joining us, we don't play an emulator. This is actually my Super Nintendo we're playing. So this is the real deal. The WWF Championship, which I believe is Ultimate Warriors. We're going to get into all this stuff here on this show. But what do you say we go ahead? So we got one-on-one for one player. One-on-one tag team Survivor Series. Now, if we've got Macho Man, The Undertaker, Jake the Snake Roberts, Hulk Hogan, the Legion of Doom, the Natural Disasters, Ted DiBiase, and Sid Justice. Think good for Sid Justice. But of course, I'm a Macho Man guy, so I'm picking. We'll be going against Typhoon here in our opening match. There's Howard Finkel. So this game came out in the spring of 92. So it was produced throughout 1991. And this game came out just for North America. It was not released anywhere else, which is kind of weird, excuse me. And what's kind of odd about this game is the sales numbers as far as units sold is kind of unclear. There's not really a definitive number. But the thought is this game did fairly well because it was a video game boom. Here in the spring of 92, we're hot on the heels of WrestleMania 8. And although wrestling was not where it was at, 4 years prior, we're not completely down the tubes just yet. So I mean, we're still hanging on, but not by much. And I am just showing Typhoon the what for. Suplex, as I forgot his name. Gordon Sully would say. There we go. I got it. See, we're here. We got there. I'm curious now. I'm willing to bet you that Jake, just looking at this game, did not realize this the first time. I'm willing to bet you Jake the Snake and Macho Man's pants are the same. They're just different colors. All right. Here we go. Macho Man's coming back. Typhoon made a little bit of a comeback there on me. Oh, and we're going to continue that. We got a pin. Get up. Get. You get. This is not good. Not looking good for the Macho Man. Might have to drop the difficulty since I don't. These Acclaim games, and we're going to get into it. This series of Acclaim games are kind of the same. And I'm not ragging on them because it's the time, right? But I just rematch. I don't want to do that. But it is prior to the time. Like, it's very hard to get a grasp on these games from a control perspective. So let's see what's going to happen here. Let's have a drink real quick. So here in the spring of 92, somebody just stabbed me in the hand. The hell. SNES is crushing it in the game console sales. So they sold 5.6 million units in 1992 in North America. So they are the clear front runners here as we start 1992. And they sold a remarkable number, 7.6 million consoles abroad. I'm sorry. They sold I'm mixing my sentences up. They sold 3.58 million units in Japan. However, the new kid on the block was the Sega Genesis here in 1992. And believe it or not, Sega actually passes Nintendo in game unit sales or console unit sales, which I believe is the first time in North America since the NES was released that something not Nintendo was in the lead for game console sales. So Sega Genesis hops Nintendo in 1992. They sell 7.6 million consoles just in North America. And what led to this change at the top of the food chain? Well, there's two things. For one, we'll go ahead and get back into the match here. For one, Sega is selling, or let's start with Super Nintendo. They're selling their consoles here in 92 for $199.99. Now, I know what you're thinking. If you're like me and still playing video games today, would love that right now. But alas, Sega Genesis, when they come out, they're saying, hey, we're going to drop the one. We're going to sell our consoles for $99.99, $100 instead of $200, which that by itself pretty substantial. But when you're an unknown entity like Sega Genesis, that's having a cheap price isn't really enough, because price in these markets, as my gaming friends will confirm, is you often get what you pay for. And this was even the case. I'm wondering now if I'm even actually playing this. This might be the computer. No, it's me. Okay. That was weird. So they I mean, certainly as a new kid on the block, you already have, one issue with Nintendo is drop the elbow. Nintendo's already established, right? They're the guy in especially 92 and the Super Nintendo coming out. New console, same name, established, they already have a legacy character in Super Mario in their pocket. Sega Genesis has a steep hill to climb. Well, the second thing to this changing of the guard, so to speak, in console sales is Sega started selling what they called a bundle unit. And they still do this pretty frequently today. So really, Sega is a trendsetter. So kids in the early 90s, they're starting to move away from Mario and Luigi, and they're gravitating towards Sonic the Hedgehog. So with this marketing campaign, they had a bundle that was priced at $129.99, and you could get the Sega Genesis and Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which again, I believe is the first time any console had sold a console game bundle. Sega Genesis did this in 92. And this bundle plan, including a $10 million marketing campaign by Sega Genesis for Sonic the Hedgehog, results in Sega Genesis now the number one selling console in 1992 by a lot in North America, and the number one selling game in 1992 in a walk is Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And it's still, to this day, well, not to this day doesn't fit. Throughout the history of the Sega Genesis, it was the second highest selling game in the console's history. Number one, Sonic the Hedgehog 1. Well done by Sega Genesis. So Sega had Sonic the Hedgehog, and Nintendo's still rocking with the Mario brand. And also 92, first Mario Kart came out. Again, trendsetter. So here we are playing Super WrestleMania, and we're going to get into how these wrestling games sort of fit in with the video game library at large. And let's ease it up a little bit so I can actually win a match. So let's go with Jake and let's see if he has the same paths as Macho Man, just different cover. We're going against Hogan. Not ideal. Stone Mountain, Georgia. So I know the last WrestleMania X8 show we did, this came up because there's actually a short of it on our YouTube, Markout Moments. But we talked about, best wrestlers to never win the title. And it's always Scott Hall, and rightfully so. I'm not saying it shouldn't be. Kurt Hennig, Dustin Rhodes, I think some people put on there. Jake's got to be on there, right? Jake has to be on there. Arguably one of the biggest stars of the 80s. And even still here in the spring of 92, he's still kicking. Now he's about to lose to The Undertaker at WrestleMania and leave for WCW for about 2 months. For the spin the wheel, make the deal with Sting. I believe, was it 92 or 94? He lost his hair in Mexico. But of course, Jake's lifestyle kind of stalled his career right where it was here in 92. But man, from the mid 80s to here, I mean, few people had a bigger star than Jake did. So the pants, nice. I threw Hogan. What's up? They don't appear to be the same as Macho Man. Oh, I got a bad itch in my eye. There we go. Now I got something in my eye. This worked out well. And unfortunately, WrestleMania X8 and Warzone for PlayStation, we got lucky and they had a strategy guide available for us. They don't have that for this. I just, you gotta go toe to toe with Hogan and lose and Typhoon. And yes, this game did sell for SNES. It's like a Genesis, and there were actually 2 different rosters on each console. We'll get into that here momentarily, hopefully after this match is over. Now, this game, we went over. It's 1-on-1 tag team, Survivor Series, 2 players, same thing. There is no fight for the belt here on this game. That was before the times here. Elbow drop on the Hulkster. I feel like my health should not be that low, but alas, it is. Didn't even get a 1 count. What a man. Oh. Ah. Come on. Come on. Oh, we got a stalemate here. Jake gets the dubs. What's pin? I don't remember. Oh no. Oh boy. Oh no. We let Hogan back up. Okay. Okay. Is it? Mm-mm. What? I got his health bar completely lowered here. What are we doing? Oh boy. Just kicks and get. Okay, it's down in X. There's your pin. 1, 2. Jake to Snake. Look at this guy. So this game, Super WrestleMania, was developed by Sculptured Software and published by Acclaim Entertainment. And this is the first time we're kind of going to get into like the production companies behind the scenes because, again, this is the proof of concept game. So I have notes on it. Sculptured Software was founded in Salt Lake City by George Matos, Brian Bradenberg, Peter Adams, Mike McCree, and Bob Bergener. They incorporated on July 12th, 1985. And the company developed some of the most iconic video games of all time, and you probably didn't realize it. That includes Super Star Wars for SNES, the SNES versions of Doom, and Mortal Kombat 1 through 3. And then with Sculptured and Acclaim, who's also on this game, of course, they worked so close and so well together that Sculptured actually bought out by Acclaim on October 9th, 1995. And then they renamed that company in 1997 to Iguana West. And the story of Acclaim, I cannot wait to tell it, is what a rise to the top. And again, their library in the mid-90s and late 90s is unbelievable. But just a series of what the hell decisions led to their downfall. They're out of business by 2004, which is wild. Like if you think, like guys my age, right? I'm 41. I'm gonna be 41. Like video games in the 90s and Acclaim is synonymous with each other. They dominated video games in the 90s. Out of business by 2004. Wow. And again, yeah, there's some doozies in there. Let's have a tag team match. I'm gonna be the Natural Disasters. One of the most underrated tag teams in the history. Who we taking on? Hawk and Animal. Look, that's good. I like that. I like it. Do they do combined weights? Nope. So 468 for Earthquake. Guessing. By the way, if he's anywhere near that actual weight when he was wrestling, that's bananas. I bet he wasn't far off. That dude could move. And yes, Earthquake should have been WWF champion in 1990. And 486 and 484. So 830 pounds between the two of them. That's crazy. That's some beef. 830 pounds between two dudes. Wild. So, go back to Acclaim. Again, 17 years their window. And they're back right now. We're going to get into that too. But they did Double Dragon 2 The Revenge, The Simpsons, Bart versus the Space Mutants, NBA Jam, NFL Quarterback Club 94. Now, the reason why I picked out 94, it's my favorite football game of all time. WWF Raw, which we're going to play eventually. That was for Sega. Well, it was both, but I have it for Sega. Mortal Kombat, Burnout, and many others. However, even though Acclaim had certainly created their spot in the 90s, again, a series of, like, I hope these people never worked in PR again. Decisions led to their demise by 04. And as soon as I'm done whipping LOD's ass, we'll talk about it. It is so wild, being this nerd and liking wrestling. Because again, here in 92, brother, I'm still all the way in on wrestling. I'm still hooked. And, researching things and knowing all the things that I would like to think that I know. And then watching Dark Side of the Ring and finding out that Hawk at SummerSlam 92 is just outside of his mind and burned his calf on his motorcycle exhaust is both insane and heartbreaking. Kick. Well, tag in old Typhoon here in Uno Memento. Get. You're not. What are we doing? Why aren't you kicking out? Okay. That was a little sus right there. I don't like it. Oh, let's see that. See, that should have been a back slap tag. Typhoon coming in sneaky. Animals getting after it here. They just won. What? What just happened? Okay. I'm stunned. I can't believe this happened. So when I can take a minute and breathe and read my notes, we're going to go over all the bad decisions Acclaim made, because they're actually, no, let's do it now, because they're whoppers, man. Like, I don't know who sat in a meeting and was like, let's do all of these things. Like, I would like to think if I was in a meeting room and somebody would have said any of the things I'm about to tell you, I would have been like, we shouldn't do any of those things. None of them. And Acclaim was like, I think we should do all of them. So let's start with the UK. UK business. The company offered $10,000 to any parents who changed their child's name to Turok in advance of the release of Turok Evolution. Now, it was later discovered that all the alleged name changes that happened were actually actors, which restores some of my faith in the human race. Then they tried to buy actual advertising spots on, as we say in wrestling, shoot tombstones for Shadow Man's Second Coming. For Burnout 2, Point of Impact, by the way, that advertising on tombstones thing, rejected soundly, as you could probably guess. For Burnout 2, and I mean that by the British government, not by the company. The company was like, yeah, let's do that. That would go over great. For Burnout 2, Point of Impact, Acclaim offered to reimburse any person in the United Kingdom who got a speeding ticket. Obviously, that didn't go over well either. The UK was like, I beg pardon. You're going to do what? And then, here in the United States, the Olsen twins, yes, those two, Mary-Kate and Ashley, they sued Acclaim over unpaid royalties, and they had like a whole like child game chain. Like there's like 11 games they made with the Olsen twins, and apparently they got paid very little for all of those games, and they got sued and won, by the way. And then, but here's the coup de grace. As the company's already circling the drain, they decided we need a hit. We need a new hit. Got it. Burnout did well, even with our horseshit PR stunts. But the kids seem to be into extreme sports, right? That was the rally racing, BMX, skateboarding. That was the wave, right? That was what was coming into video games. And Acclaim was like, we need to do the BMX game, and we should get Dave Mirra. And Dave Mirra was like, right on, brother, I'm in. So they have this BMX game with Dave Mirra slated. And then I can't look. So as if just having Dave Mirra wasn't enough for a BMX game, which I think it would have been. They were like, hey, what if, you know what the kids want in their bicycling game? Titties. Yes, they tried to do full nude scenes. Actually, they didn't try, they did. There are full nude scenes in BMX Triple X is the name of the game with strippers. And Dave Merrill was like, hey, take my name off that shit. And then he sued them and won. And that was kind of their swan song. All the litigation caught up. And that was the end of the claim, was BMX Triple X. And then, of course, I told you earlier, they bought Sculpture Software in 95. Well, part of their agreement was you have to keep all of the employees because you're just going to expand, right? So you got to keep all the employees and you can't lay us off. Well, guess what? They did it anyway in 97. And they were either offered two things. They could either sue or they were offered a severance package. But if you sued, you lost your severance package. So I guess how that went. And so, I mean, Acclaim didn't have the best reputation. Now, again, I did say earlier, it appears from what I've been reading and whatnot, they're coming back. There's Acclaim's on its comeback trail. There's some new people, all new people in charge. As I read these off, I hope that is the case. And nothing would make me happier as a wrestling game nerd than to see the honor of Acclaim restored. But man, what a divot they left him in 04 to overcome. I mean, the idea of like, again, like extreme sports, dude. I'm with you. I'm with you all the way. I get it. Tony Hawk I think was around this time. Let's tag in Typhoon. I'm all on board. And then you're like, hey, Tony Hawk was very successful with this video game because, you know, the graphics for the time were good. You can do these crazy moves, defy gravity, all these things. And then, like, what if we did all of those things plus titties? It's like, dude, you missed it, man. You missed it entirely. You were right. You had it. You had it right. It was right there. Again, again, looking at the library of Acclaim, and just that's how you go out. It is just wild to me. Yeah, you stop that, animal. Let's get a tag into Earthquake. We need a rest. We need a rest over there on the apron. I gotta tell you, Legion of Doom, even on easy, is just whipping that ass. How about an Earthquake drop kick? And it didn't hit either one. Headbutt. Kick. Headbutt. This game slowed down to a halt for this match. Body slam. There we go. Let's drop that elbow. Boom. And you go ahead and tag in Hawk. You go right ahead. Whip his ass too. So the whole premise of this game, or this show, I should say, and we do it. We did it for Warzone, kind of did it for WrestleMania X8. Is I like to go over the production notes of the game and sales and whatnot in episode 1. Episode 2, and this is if you're new to the show, because if you're watching, you know this. Episode 2 is what they were doing in actual creative in here in 1992 or wherever the game takes place. And episode 3 is us hanging out and talking. So, oh yeah, it's X. That's right. Yeah, I control Typhoon. I didn't know that. I didn't know you control the guy that's coming in to break to stop the pin break. That is brand new information. He kicked out. What a wiener. Oh, that's not what I wanted to happen. That's also not what I wanted to happen. What are we doing? Oh, boy. Thank you. That's all I wanted. He broke it up. Hey, you go ahead and tag. I'm going to tag out also. That seems fair. And I know if you see the announcers behind us there, it's supposed to be Bobby Heenan and Vince McMahon. But that other announcer is a dead ringer for John Laurinaitis. Dead ringer. Did I just pick him up? I didn't know you could do that. What? Come on. Right in the face. Okay, good. We kicked out. Okay. That's where you go now, outside the ring. My dad is texting me at 9:30. Asking me how cold it is. That's weird. Well, he didn't ask me how cold it was. He asked me how the cold world is treating me. Cold. That's how. Yeah, if you haven't been paying attention to how the entire country, 32 states at least, have been super cold, and specifically up here in my neck of the woods in northern Indiana, Chicagoland, I would say over the last week we have gotten probably a foot and a half of snow conservatively, and it's been negative temperatures. He kicked out again. What is happening? It's been negative something a lot here in the last 10 days or so. So wait, if the health is already down, do they just not come in anymore? That's odd. Bark Bentley here is joining us, and he says you can give him the earthquake splash by running off the ropes and elbow dropping him, but it counts with the earthquake butt splash. And yes, you're right. I have to actually, I think when I did the proof of concept for this show, I think I actually did that and mentioned it. I might have to post that one of these days. Post that show. It was a good time. Let's be Ted DiBiase against Hawk. So there's two different rosters for the SNES version and the Sega Genesis version, as wild as that seems. So SNES had 10 people. Sega Genesis had 8. But there was a gameplay difference between the two, and we'll get to that in a second. So the SNES had Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Ted DiBiase. These were the only 3 guys that showed up on both games, by the way. It's Hogan, Savage, DiBiase. Jake Roberts, Undertaker, Sid Justice, Legion of Doom, and the Natural Disasters. The Sega version had Hogan, Savage, and DiBiase, plus Ultimate Warrior, Papa Shango, IRS, British Bulldog, and Shawn Michaels. And I believe there's a reason why Sega only had 8. I think they had a different game mode. Huh. The game itself got high ratings, Computer and Video Games Magazine. And in addition to Game Zone, Joystick, Zero, and Enforce, all scored at a 90 out of 100. And I know you've heard of none of those publications, like I haven't, but to have that many, the point being, to have that many score you a 90 is pretty crazy. No, we're just going to punch and kick each other outside the ring. Nintendo Power gave us a 4.2 out of 20, which is stupid. This stupid scale. So that would be a 71 for those of you doing the math at home. 71%. That's a C minus. It's not great. And again, it's not really clear how many units this game sold on either console, by the way. But again, because of the success of both Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis, and it is known that this game was mildly successful in its own right, it is thought it did pretty well. Yeah, you go out there, you some bee. Now, One thing working against this game when it was released, and it's not the sad part, it's not even an external factor, is the WWF released 4 video games here in 1992. Now, this was the only one that was major console. And here's what I mean by that. So it was released for SNES and Sega, right? But they also had Superstars 2, which came out for Game Boy. WrestleMania Steel Cage Challenge, which came out for Game Gear and NES. And then there was a European Rampage Tour game, which came out for Atari ST, PC, and Commodore 64. And I mean, again, and this is kind of a hard discussion to have, right? Because even though all those games came out on different platforms, again, this came out on Super Nintendo and Sega. You had one that came out on PC. You had one came out on NES. One that came out on Game Boy. So all different platforms. But you're looking at $15 to $40 a game. I can't remember what Game Boy games were back in those days. But they weren't cheap. I do know that. And so having 4 games for people to buy is a lot to ask of your customers. Because again, most gaming fans, I've never owned a handheld. I'm about to lose a handheld gaming unit ever. I haven't had a Game Gear, a Game Boy, nothing. So, but a lot of people did. They had both. So that's a lot to ask of people. That's 4 games to $100 conservatively to spend on video games a year. So they kind of learned their lesson. They only released 3 games in 93. And then they released 4 games in total between 94 and 98. There was no game released in 97. The game released in 98 was game 2 of Bash on the Button series. That was Warzone. But again, like the whole, which by the way, Warzone and Attitude were still acclaimed. Those are both for PS1. And again, the video game atmosphere specifically for wrestling video games, the feel, the controls, the look, like optimizing user happiness really didn't show up until WCW, NWO, World Tour, and Revenge, and then WrestleMania 2000 and No Mercy. Those 4 games, even to this day, I would put up against most video games, especially in the time. And I can't wait to do one of those games. Revenge will be on the next poll we do. And just talk about the sales. Those sales have got to be ridiculous for those games. And then there is a reason why Sega had less people. They had 8 instead of 10, and I can remember what it was. I think they might have had a Royal Rumble mode, but it was still only 1-on-1. Or maybe there was 4 people allowed in the ring. I think that's what it was. Undertaker. But it was something along those lines. They love Hawk. They're loving them some Hawk on this game. Some Hawk Tua. Sorry, I had to. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like these, again, this game, WWF Raw. What other ones that were that looked just like this? There was a few. And listen, in a vacuum, considering the time, there's nothing wrong with the games individually. But I think a lot of customers did have an issue with, we're just going to keep releasing the same game every year. We're just going to whip different costumes on people and change their face. And also, another key factor we have to take into account is the WWF business for wrestling as a whole, I should say, nosedived here not too much longer after this game was released, if it wasn't already heading that direction now. Because WrestleMania 8 was Flair Savage, and then Hogan Hogan Sid. Should have been the WrestleMania we got a heel Hulk Hogan. Alas, it was not. And I think Hogan Sid with a heel Hogan could have been something. Again, we'll never know, but I think it could have been very easily. A Savage Flair. The sad thing about both of those guys, and I'm a diehard Randy Savage fan. I think WrestleMania 4 is one of my favorite WrestleManias ever because I get to watch Randy Savage a bunch and I get to watch him win the world title. That's one of my favorites. I think he should have retained the title at WrestleMania 5 over Hogan. I think that was a big mistake on WWF's part. Actually, I would say, I'll even go this far. I think Randy Savage dropping the title at WrestleMania 5 was the first step on the fans getting tired of Hulk Hogan. I'll say that. And I don't think the Warrior feud helped him any either, to be fair. But here at 92, like Savage and Flair, they were the two guys you called on, like, we need a good match. We need a good match. It's those two, right? Every time. WCW pulled that card out quite a few times. But I don't necessarily disagree with the fact that I don't think those two is a main event of WrestleMania. And here's why. Because now, are you asking me if it's can they main event a Starrcade? Absolutely. Two different companies, two different products, two different fan bases. Can they headline a WrestleMania? No, because it's different, right? It's the fans by 92. Let's go over the WrestleMania main events, right? One is Mr. T and Hogan against Orton and Piper. 2 is Hogan and Bundy in the cage. 3 is Hogan and Andre at the Silverdome. 4 is Randy Savage and DiBiase. 5 is Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan. 6 is Hogan Warrior. 7 is Hogan Slaughter. 8 is Hogan Sid, even though it should have been Flair Savage. 9 was technically Yoko Brett and Hogan comes out at the end, right? But they have been, no matter what happens, Hogan's going on last. Even if the world title isn't on him, Hogan's coming out last. And I completely understand why they did it that way. It worked. Listen, it worked for him for a decade. I can't hate it. But I think when you center your company around Hulk Hogan, has to be the last man standing at the end of every major show, champion or not, you make Hulk Hogan bigger than the championship, which if he's the champion, not a big deal. But when he's not the champion, he overshadows the champion. So it's very hard. And I think that's what happened with Warrior is it's very hard for a champion to get off the ground when they're being cast in the shadow of Hulk Hogan. And that's why I think Savage and Flair couldn't have made a WrestleMania at that time. Now, if they would have taken that match and moved it forward 12 years, their main event in WrestleMania. Absolutely. But at the time, it just wasn't, it's Hogan Sid. I don't like it, but I also understand it. Who have we not seen yet? We've seen those 4. We haven't seen Sid Justice. Thank God for Sid Justice. I wonder. I'm pretty sure Sergeant Slaughter was on WWF Attitude. He may have been unlockable, but I'm pretty sure he was on the game. Is that the first wrestling video game he was on? Did I say he was on this for a second? I don't think I did. That would be crazy. Because AWA never had a video game. Thank God. And he wasn't in the NWA since like 84. If that. Like, yeah, there's a good chance Attitude's the first wrestling game he was on. 1999. With his feud with Triple H. By the way, what is this sudden conversation I've been seeing on social media? And again, it just proves that social media is such a microcosm of any group whatsoever. Wrestling fans aren't special, apparently. What is this sudden conversation that's been popping up online that Triple H was not a big part of the Attitude Era? What? Listen, as a guy that was a teenager for all of the Attitude Era, was I ever Triple H's biggest fan? Nope. I didn't even like DX. I've said it on this show. I thought Shawn Michaels was overrated. I couldn't stand him. However, all those things being said, to say Triple H was not a big part of the Attitude Era is hilarious to me. Like, that is, like, people are just acting like he didn't have his feud with The Rock over the IC title and DX in the Nation, which a lot of that you can't watch because times are certainly different. But like this idea that he didn't matter in the Attitude Era is like, the other wrestlers wouldn't agree with you that were in the Attitude Era. And then I was reading something the other day, now because Dave Meltzer went after Billy Gunn. Now people are going back and like, oh my God, imagine having a main event with The Rock and fumbling it. He had asthma, for one, and so he couldn't have long matches. And two, what is he supposed to do when The Rock comes out in his first promo of their feud and just shits on him? Go back and listen to their first promo after Billy Gunn wins King of the Ring. There ain't no coming back from that. Like, I don't know where this Billy Gunn and Triple H hate. Well, I know where the Triple H hate's coming from. It's because the WWE's in a lull period. Now everyone is thinking Triple H is a bad booker. Like, every wrestling company in the history of the planet hasn't had cool periods. Now, am I sitting here defending his booking? No. I haven't watched WWE television in over a year because I think his booking's ass. It's repetitive. And if I have to watch one more triple threat match, I am going to throw up on my feet. But it's the same reason why I don't watch AEW. That's why I don't understand. Like, they're doing the same things. AEW and WWE. They're doing exactly the same things. They're no different. But for some reason, people have to hate one and like the other, or vice versa. And here I'll take my spot. I don't like either of them. I don't. I will say, I wish this game had, like, seeing the Undertaker in this game thrown up Tombstone would have been pretty awesome. Also, a little upset we were deprived a true Randy Savage Undertaker feud. We never really got one. That would have been, got Randy Savage a crush. Bless him. Never got Randy Savage and Undertaker. Oh, and if you remember the beginning of this game, we'll go back to it here at the match selection screen. They have the white WWF Championship, the Winged Eagle, as we call it, which is Ultimate Warrior's title, the white one. When this game was being produced, he was the champion. Shortly after this game, or shortly before this game was released, he lost it to Slaughter at Royal Rumble. Wait, did I say that right? He won it at 6. No, I'm sorry. He lost it a year before. He lost it in January of 91. Oof. Right? Because he beat Hogan at WrestleMania 6, which was 1990. Yeah. Slaughter wins it at Royal Rumble 91. Wow. So Well, hell with that. I don't know why that belt's still on the. Why that's still the one on the screen. I don't know. That's interesting. I didn't think about that. I will tell you, I get this game hits me right in the nostalgia feels. I think this game deserves a lot more attention than what it's gotten over the years. It is going to be brutal to play this game for 3 weeks. So apparently you just can't grapple out here. You just kick the shit out of each other, which is fine. Randy Savage. So we got Rams, Patriots headed to the Super Bowl, a rematch of 2003, which ultimately would be the end. We didn't know it at the time, but would be the end of the greatest show on turf and the start of the greatest dynasty this world has ever seen, not named the Boston Celtics or the New York Yankees. The NFL for sure. And I don't know if anyone was calling Patriots Rams when this season started. A lot of injuries this season. Buffalo. I picked Buffalo Detroit this year for the Super Bowl. And Detroit was like, hey, what if we just didn't make the playoffs? So they let me down easily, pretty quick. Good for them. Thank you. But Buffalo, everyone wants to hate on and Josh Allen, rightfully so. I mean, he had a terrible game against Denver. But I think if he has an actual number one wide receiver, there's white belt right there. I don't think he holds on to the ball as long. I don't think he fumbles as much in that game, or really ever, for that matter. He used to have number ones, and their offense was much more potent, and now he doesn't. And I'm not trying to disrespect Keon Coleman or any of those guys, or Khalil Shakir, but they're not number one receivers. They're just not. Great number two, great slots. They're not number ones. I think if he had an actual, number one receiver, the Bills would be a lot better. Their defense is okay. I mean, it'll get you where you need to go. Although I will always stand by the fact, whenever the Bills play in the playoffs, or really ever, in windy, cold, snowy conditions, they will always say, this is the Buffalo Bills game. This is their game. This is their style of weather. This is their style of play. And then they always lose that game. Always. I remember watching a game where they played the Patriots like 15 years ago. And it was a Buffalo type of game. The wind was blowing so hard they could not throw forward passes because it was blowing off the field. They lost. But I don't know. This is going to be interesting. I'm going to watch it, of course, and it's going to be interesting because I don't know what to expect out of this game. I have no idea. Like the Rams offense is legit. Patriots defense appears to be legit as well. Their offense is, again, it's enough. It'll get you some big plays. It'll win you. It may not win you the game, but it's not going to lose it either. I don't know. I don't really know. I mean, I would love to see Matthew Stafford being a Detroit Lions guy. I'm a Bears fan. I'd love to see him get one more and ride off into the subset with two. Because listen, if he gets two, not only is he a first ballot Hall of Famer, we're talking like top 10 ever. Which after the first Super Bowl, this is going to be Super Bowl 60. So just that many teams every year, that many quarterbacks, and we're not to mention before the Super Bowl era. And I'm confidently saying Stafford would be in the top 10 ever to do it. Are you saying the Super Bowls matter for one's legacy? Yes. I do. I do think that. I think that's why people, especially younger generations, look at Eli Manning more favorably than they do Dan Marino. Dan Marino is one of the best quarterbacks to ever do it, but he went to one Super Bowl, never went to another one, never won one. It is definitely hurting Dan Marino. Imagine if John Elway doesn't win, 2 in his last 2 seasons. What's the write-up on John Elway if he does not win the Super Bowls in 98 and 99? Especially helping was that he beat Brett Favre. Now, when he beat Atlanta the next year, no one gave a shit. No one gave the Dirty Birds a chance. Their starting quarterback was Chris Chandler. But their running game was legit. They had Jamal Anderson. I think Andre Rison was on that team. They had some studs. Their defense was very good. Nobody thought Atlanta was going to beat Denver, especially on the back-to-back season. And everyone knew this is probably it for John. Let's do a Survivor Series. Why not? Let's just go bananas. Let's see. Who are the baby faces? Spring of 92, WrestleMania 8. Undertaker faced Jake. Undertaker's a babyface. Okay. We know Hogan is. They would have turned Sid heel for this. Macho Man is. Jake's a heel. So let's go Macho Man. And what the hell? We'll have Sid Justice. We got Earthquake, Typhoon, Jake. And there's got to be DiBiase. Yeah. This is a hellacious Survivor Series teams. Oh man, imagine if Luger and the Steiners were on this, we could have done their actual Survivor Series team. That was in '94. So a reminder, our next poll. So here again, if you're new here, here's how we do this. We do games in 4 blocks, three weeks at a time. So far we've done Warzone, WrestleMania X8, WCW vs. the World, which was just tripe. Now we're doing this, and then we got Pro Wrestling for NES after this game. When that game is over, and we do 3 weeks each game. On week 2 of NES, we're going to release a new poll with 4 new games, and depending on which game gets the most votes, depends on what order we play the games. So the leading vote getter will be number 1, so on and so forth. So those 4 games are going to be In Your House for Sega Saturn, Royal Rumble for Dreamcast, WCW NWO Revenge for N64, and Tag Team Wrestling for NES. I've never heard of it, and I've heard it's awful. And yes, I do own it. So there's your 4 games coming up on the poll after this game for NES Pro Wrestling. Week 2 of that game, the new poll will be coming out. That'll be on our X page. So just keep an eye out for that. Maybe we'll put one on Facebook too. We'll combine them. That'd be fun. So a little stuffy from the COVIDs, which I kind of went off on people about coming into work sick and whatnot. Just no consideration for other people just sneezing and coughing everywhere. Well, drunken pop, so I'm not going to do it again. But Lord. Let's bring in the hopes. I got the hiccups. I was at my in-laws' house, so I had an electrician come today. I know that a lot just happened. I'm dying. Hang in there. We'll get back to it. So I had an electrician come to the house today and wire up a new breaker panel, new service, and then clean up some wiring in my house that's just a mess, right? And I'm an electrician. but I do industrial, not residential. And here's all I knew about the wiring in my house. I knew it was messed up, but I don't know residential code, so I didn't know how to fix it. So instead of burning my house down, I hired an electrician to come. He did a phenomenal job, by the way. But while we're there, while he's here doing that, I'm at the in-laws house with the wife and the kids. And I'm continuing my challenge of trying to watch 365 movies this year. And I believe I'm on 21 right now. And what's helping is I've started watching the 007 series from the beginning. And right now I'm on The Spy Who Loved Me. And I will tell you, Dr. No's the first one, 1962. It's terrible. And it's not the movie's fault. It's 1962's fault. That movie's terrible. It's terrible. But it's Sean Connery, so it kind of makes up for it. He's in the first four. Number 5 is something named like in the honor of your Majesty's blah, blah, blah. And it's Timothy Lazenby. It's the only movie he's in where he's 007. And it's the drizzling shits. Like, he's not even on a mission. He's just like there on some mountain ski resort thing. And there's just lots of women because it's 007. And they're brainwashed, trying to blow up this town. Stupid movie. That movie was stupid because it was poorly written. So we got 4 Sean Connerys, then Timothy Lazenby. Sean Connery comes back for the next 3. And now I know why. He comes back, then Roger Moore starts. So right now I'm on the 3rd Roger Moore movie, which is The Spy Who Loved Me. And it's fun to see, like, as really since that Timothy Lazenby disaster, now the movies are becoming better because of how they're written and not because of what special effects are capable of doing because of time. So this movie's I'm watching is 1975. The story writing is just getting better. Although there is something odd about Jaws is introduced in this one, which is I didn't know this. The guy with the nail in his head from Happy Gilmore, same guy, but like his whole thing is he doesn't talk, and his like finishing move is he just bites people with his crazy teeth. So is he like a vampire? I don't understand why that is his thing. Especially, dude, this man's hands are like 4 times the size of the average man's head. You don't need to bite people. You can just cave their face in really with one hand. Just one quick, like a jab for him would just ruin your face. That's all you have to do. But I think we have this Roger Moore movie, and then I think 2 more. Then Sean Connery's back for 3, I think, in the 80s. And then Timothy Dalton's in 2, I believe, in the late 80s, and then we get into Pierce Brosnan in 1995 with Goldeneye. And then you got, 5 with Pierce, and then we go to Daniel Craig. And I've seen Casino Royale and Skyfall already, and those 2 movies are fantastic. And in the theme of the movies, in the time, I had not watched any of the other 007s when I watched Spectre and Skyfall and Casino Royale. I'm sorry, I haven't watched Spectre, Skyfall, and Casino Royale. I had just seen those 2. Haven't seen the rest of them. I said Daniel Craig is the best 007. And I would still say, from an acting standpoint and from like how the movie felt, because it was rougher than the rest, grittier, I think I would still say that. But iconic 007 portrayers, it has to be Sean Connery's number 1. It's got to be. I put Roger Moore 2. And then, I mean, I don't like to do this. You almost have to tie Pierce Brosnan and Daniel Craig. And then Timothy Dalton and then Lazenby should be pushed off a cliff. They should get rid of that movie altogether. They should just pretend it didn't happen. Like, hey, I thought there was 17 007s. Now there's 16. What happened to Timothy Lazenby? That person doesn't exist. Like, just pretend it never happened. What a pile of shit that movie was. Let's go back to our Survivor Series match. Oh, but as I'm at remember the choking thing. That's where we started. Yeah, I was at my in-laws' house, and I was enjoying a nice Fresca. And as I'm swallowing, I hiccuped and aspirated a bunch. Nearly died. And my wife just laughed at me. But I was real close. I was gripping it life. White knuckling it, as they say. And ever since then, because again, my throat and my chest have already kind of been sensitive from having COVID. It wasn't great. Like my throat's still a little perturbed and does not like to be bothered. And if you're asking me, TJ, did you go to work last week? Yes, I did. Didn't miss a day. And I wore a mask. Suck it. Because I care about other people. Yeah, you eat that. So I believe, oh yeah, you press select, you get a new guy on the apron. Let's bring in the Macho Man. Dig it, Typhoon. I can't do it. Nope, I just bridged it. Oh yeah, dig it. Okay. I do. I am fascinated. Bruce Pritchard, as he started doing a show, something to wrestle with. In recent years, he has let the cat out of the bag. That before they went heel Sergeant Slaughter, one of the ideas for Hogan at WrestleMania 7 was turning the Tugboat heel and calling him Sheik Tugboat because, sure. And again, I cannot stress this enough how happy I'm they did not do that. But what's interesting, like it's a product of the time, right? Because it's the Hogan monster factor, right? It makes sense in that standpoint. But in every other metric that you try to look at it, you're like, why him? And this isn't anything. I'm not trying to throw shade at Typhoon. The dude had a phenomenal career, even with, and look, he had one of the most embarrassing moments in the history of wrestling with the Shockmaster, and he goes to cons dressed as the Shockmaster. Like, the dude just owns it. And I wish more people would act like that. I'm not dogging him at all, but like, how, of all the options you had, you could have done Hogan Undertaker at WrestleMania 7. And we got, Tugboat was thought of before the Undertaker. That's bizarre to me. I actually think it's weird Hogan and Earthquake never headlined a WrestleMania. I definitely think they should have. Again, I think Earthquake should have won the title in 1990. What are we doing? Nobody wants in here with Sid Justice? Yeah, you lick that, Ted. Punch to the face. So, TJ, how would you have had Earthquake win the title? Okay, it's funny you ask. It's not like I haven't thought about this. So they did that stupid Tuesday in Texas bullshit where Undertaker beat Hogan. And another reason why everyone should be leery about everything Hogan says is he then buried the Undertaker because, he, hit my head on the chair and hurt me and everything else. And then you see he was, I could have laid on the chair and had Undertaker, Tombstone, Hogan on top of me, and he wouldn't have touched me. That's how much air gap was in between that bald spot and the chair. But anyway, I digress. Instead of doing that stupid shit, because that was stupid, and Flair came out and all that stuff, is you just do Tuesday in Texas, right? Same thing. It's Hogan and Earthquake. Earthquake is still, if not the number one heel in the company, he's close. He's top 3. I would say 90, 90 it's, or 91, excuse me, it's Undertaker, probably Earthquake, and I can't even say Flair yet. He just got there. So, I don't know. DiBiase, maybe? Maybe. And, instead of having the title get held up and then it gets held up for grabs at Royal Rumble 92, you still could have done all those things, minus the belt getting held up. But Earthquake is so big and his promos were so intimidating. Plus, he had Jimmy Hart. You could have had Earthquake just say, I'm so big and I'm so confident because I'm the favorite going into the Royal Rumble. I'm going to put my belt on the line. I'm entering the Royal Rumble and I'm putting my belt on the line. And you still have Flair doing Flair shit. Like that Tuesday in Texas, what they did with the Undertaker and holding the belt up in the chair, it's a lot. And I also understand that's how Hogan likes to do his finishes. So it's twofold, right? But I mean, it's just so much. It wasn't necessary. Like, I still to this day get mad at the finish of Starrcade 97. Why did any of those things happen? Why wasn't it just, hey, we're going to have Sting beat Hogan? Well, Hogan doesn't want to do the job for Sting. I didn't ask that. This is what we're doing. I run this bitch. Like, this is what we're doing. Again, same principle as Shawn and Vader at SummerSlam 95. I would have fired Shawn Michaels that night without hesitation. Look, clearly something's going on. You've been nothing but a headache for me. He's about to be a lot more headaches moving forward. Actually, no, he'd already had the Marine fight, but he's got more shit coming up. I lost my smile is about to happen. Like, you already caused me enough issues, and now you just went on my pay-per-view and made an ass out of yourself and your challenger and my title. Get out. Oh, TJ, you just don't understand like business and making money. I guess not, because I can't imagine a world. And I've had a job with some management roles, and I can't imagine having a job. Granted, it's never been entertainment. I'll give you that. But being in a management role and having someone do some shit like that and represent your company that way, and being like, "Hey, I really wish you wouldn't do that anymore," and letting him stay, like, what are we? What? Was he talented in the ring? Absolutely. Top 3 ever to do it. Did he have the merch sales and the charisma and all the other stuff to justify doing? Was he doing gangbusters enough business in 95 to justify acting like that on pay-per-view? Absolutely not. No. Well, I can go down to WCW and be with Hall and Nash. Bye. Actually, they didn't leave till 96, but you get the point. Finally got one gone. Macho Man is stoked. Comes Typhoon. Let's get a fresh man up on the apron. Hulk Hogan. We still got it all 4, by the way. Ted DiBiase. See, Ted DiBiase is another one. I think everyone agrees should have been world champion. But the thing with Ted is, like, he was his hottest from 87 to 90, for sure. And the thing with him, it's like, it's Hogan and Macho Man are the 2 world champions in that time frame. Where do you fit Ted? And I don't know the answer to that. Do I think? Here's what I do think. I think when Hogan beat Andre, I'm sorry, other way around. When Andre beat Hogan on Saturday night's main event with the twin ref thing, and he sold the championship to Ted DiBiase, should they have allowed Ted DiBiase to buy out the championship, carry it to shows and defend it? 100% they should have. Absolutely. Imagine the heel heat he could have gotten going on promos when everyone, 33 million people on NBC, saw Ted DiBiase buy the world championship for Andre the Giant because he can't be Hogan himself. And now he gets to go to shows and tell everyone how much better than Hogan he is. Like, dude, that would have been amazing. No, don't you son of a bitch. This is actually, this has been a lot closer than I want it to be. Oh, just said, get the fuck out. I could sit here and talk about old wrestling and old wrestling storylines forever. And like, this is the stuff, this is why I miss those days. It's not necessarily like the wrestlers involved. It's just the storylines. The stories were so much better back then. They were planned way out in advance. You had guys that could execute it better. And they were just more believable. Like Hogan Savage for WrestleMania 4 to WrestleMania 5, in my opinion, is the best story WWF's ever done. And to be completely honest, I don't even think it's that close. And here's why. Because everyone's natural response is going to be, what about Austin McMahon? The difference between Austin or Hogan Savage and Austin McMahon is, for one, Austin McMahon was clear from the word go. McMahon's going to be the heel, ownership, boss. Austin's going to be the babyface, everyday working man. I'm hurt. You can't make me do what you want me. You know, all those things, right? The rebel. Very clear cut from day one. Hogan and Savage was so nuanced and subtleties and little things that if, you know, the video package department before WrestleMania 4 or 5, doesn't go back and recap and show us, and the Savage interview to start the show, if those things don't happen, we don't catch them. Like, that's how subtle they are. You know, lust in your eyes, and it doesn't hurt matters that you have two of the best promo guys ever in Hogan and Savage doing this. And Savage is one of the best sellers, yada, 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 in the ring of all time. Also, all those things help. Austin's right up there too. And I would put Austin McMahon too at number 2. But again, all around best story, to me, it's Hogan Savage. And I don't, again, and there was a time Austin McMahon got so weighed down with the corporation and the Ministry of Darkness and Stephanie and Shane and, you know, DX joined the corporation. All these things. The only reason why the Austin McMahon with the corporation didn't turn into the NWO is because they actually knew where to end it. That was the only reason. There was just as many people involved in Austin McMahon Corporation Ministry of Darkness, if not more people, than there was the NWO. It was just they knew where they were going to end it. They had an end in mind. And to be completely honest, they were better at telling that story week to week than the NWO was. There were some weeks the NWO was just kicking people's asses for no reason at all. It just is. Again, 3 years of a story, it's bound to happen. It just is. But Hogan Savage is my favorite. It's my favorite storyline ever, for sure. As you probably couldn't tell by me talking about it right now. You know, as much heat, and not in a good way, as it gets today, I think Hogan's slaughter going to WrestleMania 7 was tremendous. And everyone was like, oh, they're taking advantage of the Gulf War and the soldiers and all that other stuff. And listen, I'm a veteran, but I never went overseas. Dave did. Timmy might have. I'm not sure. All three of us love that story. All three of us love that story. Because he's not like Sergeant Slaughter is not out there shitting on veterans. He's shitting on America and siding with Saddam Hussein, who was the bad guy to the entire country. Like everyone knew, oh, we should boo him. He wasn't shitting on veterans. That's crazy. Everyone even think that. And from one angle, I understand the bad taste part. I do. But if that's your, let's sit and talk about this for a minute, because this is interesting. If that's your logic, they shouldn't have done that story with the Gulf War with Sergeant Slaughter because of the optics, and it was an ongoing thing. Okay, I'll listen. Where do we draw the line? Now, I think we can all agree Muhammad Hassan shouldn't have done that. Now, granted, that was a terrorist attack. They didn't know it happened yet because it was, recorded beforehand or whatever. But even still, skating the line that thin, and listen, the Slaughter line was thin too, but there's a difference between having an American portray a sympathizer as opposed to having what you are portraying to be the person doing it, right? I think those are two different. This is a distinction also. But where do you draw the line on tastefulness? Let's say. So the Gulf War in '91 is too far. So what's inside the line then? And I would even ask you this: let's have this discussion. Gulf War is outside the line. Why? If wrestling is supposed to be television in general, for that matter, is supposed to be a reflection of the society that's watching it, then why is that out of bounds? I've never understood that. A little food for thought. Let's sit on that and think about it for a minute. Again, just going back in a vacuum and watching that storyline of Sergeant turning his back on the country and the Saddam thing, and then you have Adnan Al-Kaisi, and Iron Sheik is what was his name? Oh Lord, Colonel Mustafa. I loved it. I still like it. I don't know. I liked it. Even as a veteran, I like it. Because here's the thing. Here's the honest truth. As a veteran, I can tell you this with absolute certainty. If you make someone like a Sergeant Slaughter a heel, now I'm going to grant you, they were not doing the Salute to Troops tours of the WWF back in 1992, right? They weren't. But had they been, you could easily say, I wouldn't take Slaughter over there. So the soldiers weren't going to do anything to Sergeant Slaughter if he would have gone to Iraq and done a show. They wouldn't have. Because they know. Deep down, they know. And even if, again, this is an interesting point, because, again, this goes back to Muhammad Hassan. Everyone knows 2 years before Slaughter did this, he was G.I. Joe. Literally. He was a G.I. Joe. And now he's this. So he has enough equity in his name that he could do something like that and even go to Iraq and do a wrestling show for the troops and be fine. He probably would have been fine. I wouldn't have attempted it. I'm just saying he probably would have been fine. Muhammad Hassan, on the other hand, again, you're not portraying an American as a character. That's like you're saying this is the guy. That's a big difference. Like if you would have, like if they would have wheeled out Adnan Al-Kaisi, like, hey, everyone, we just signed Saddam Hussein, and he's gonna wrestle Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 7. Then we consider go, you know what, that was probably too far. Uh-oh. How long have we been going? Hour and a half. I think we got one, maybe two more matches to go, and then we'll call it a night here. I'm bashing the buttons week 1 of Super WrestleMania. Been having some good discussion here so far. Yeah, I'm a little sad I'm not down in Atlanta, Georgia with my ad-free shows, brothers and sisters, enjoying their festivities this weekend, but big charity show this weekend to do myself. So hope they have fun. I know I'm going to have fun. Tomorrow's going to be a busy day, but it's going to be worth it. Going to have a good time. And that's the thing, man. Like, there's not. I live in a town of about 40,000 people. It might be more now because it's kind of expanded in the last couple of years with all the business coming in. But when I was growing up, it was 32,000. I know that. And I know last I checked, it was over 45. Dave out here in Atlanta making excuses for you, says Darren Sale. By the way, I saw your picture. You handsome bitch. And I don't know what that means. Excuses for what? But there's just not enough fun, like big time community charity shows. That's why I think that's why I love Inappropriate Trivia so much. It's so random, but it's such a hit because where else are you going to do this at? You know? And this is also the first year where they let me write a category of questions. And I've tested them on people, and they may be too hard, but I like them. You know, they're sports criminal questions, crime and sports. And, man, I love, this will be my, well, actually, the last few I've missed because I've been in Alabama for Top Guy Rumble. And so I had to go to this one. Not to say I don't want to, I do. I love going to them, but I had to make this one for sure. That's why I'm not down in the ATL. I think he meant to say I asked about you. Thank you, Darren. I miss you. I heart you. We're about to just whip Jake Roberts' ass here. And I'm actually, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of happy that the two Daves in Atlanta aren't aware that I'm doing this show right now, because I think their drunken faces would just show up here and make fun of me, and I don't like that. You know, there's some episodes of Drunken Pop, you know, I get my feelings hurt a little bit, you know. Not so much from Dave making fun of me. It's more because of Timmy's sunglasses endorsed. But outside of that, you know, I get my feelings hurt sometimes, and they can be a lot, you know. I think we're gonna beat Jake the Snake with Sid Justice, and we're gonna call it a night for night 1 of Super WrestleMania. We'll come back next weekend. TJ's on afternoons next week, so it will not be Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time next week. It'll be Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Or you guys let me know. Would you rather do a Saturday night or Saturday morning? You know, do a little Saturday morning cartoon video game mashup. Darren Staley, we are happy that you rep. I cannot think of a better rep for Drunken Pop than Darren Staley. I cannot wait to actually meet him and buy that man an adult beverage, because he seems like an absolute joy. And listen, all of our fans are joys, I bet. But Darren Staley compliments us more than the rest of you. So I know he's a joy to be around. Get out, Jake. And again, for the time, 1992, this game, roster crushes. Gameplay, not terrible. Playing this game for hour and a half to 2 hours for 3 weeks straight. Granted, we already got one down. It's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. But we've got NES Pro Wrestling coming up after this. This is, Darren, this is Super Nintendo. We're playing this on. With Thank God for Justice. That's terrible. I'm just going to stop there. I'm embarrassed now. So we got this for Super Nintendo. After this game, Pro Wrestling for NES. That's Starman. All those guys. Yes, I forgot the rest of them. And then I know there's a lizard or some description. Again, week 2 of that game. The new poll will be out. Here's the new poll. In Your House for Sega Saturn, which is this, but arcaded up. I think Yokozuna's in it. Actually, I think he's on the cover. Darren, we're doing, this is week 1 of Super WrestleMania. Okay. We got 2 more weeks of this. So next Saturday and then the Friday following. And then we're jumping right into Pro Wrestling for NES. So 3 weeks from today will be Pro Wrestling for NES, assuming I don't get COVID again. And we got a barn burner right here. Oh, until that happened. Anyway, the new poll is going to be, if you weren't here earlier, In Your House for Sega Saturn. We've got Tag Team Wrestling for NES, which I've heard is abysmal. And honestly, I'm kind of excited about it. WCW NWO Revenge for N64 and Royal Rumble for Dreamcast are the 4 games that will be on the next poll. And with that, I think it is time to say goodnight. We've gotten 92 minutes in. That's pretty good. On week 1 of Super WrestleMania for NES, a nice trip back in time. 34 years ago, this spring, this gem was released. And of course, tomorrow night, as we're recording this, Royal Rumble. Don't like it's in Saudi, but we're doing the Royal Rumble. A lot of things happening. And all of us here on Markout Moments, we're going to stay on top of all of it. They did a pre-show. I might hop on here by myself and do a post-show tomorrow night. Just half in the bag. You never know. I'm probably not going to. Because I got the charity thing tomorrow, But I'm saying don't set your watch to it, but you just never know what's going to happen here on Markout Moments. In the meantime, for all my cohorts, Amy, Pongwater Dave, Timmy C, Dollar Bill Dave, Terry, Andrew Hermas, I'm TJ. This is Bash on the Buttons from Markout Moments. Week 1 of Super WrestleMania for Super Nintendo. We will catch you next Saturday night. Write it down. Next Saturday night or morning. You tell me which one you want. But right now, I'm saying Saturday night. 9 p.m. Eastern. Oh, by the way, I got more of my tattoo done. Bricks are coming in. 9 p.m. next Saturday. Week 2. Super WrestleMania. Right here on Markout Moments, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and on X. Until next time, I'm TJ Stevens. Markout Moments. Bash on the buttons. See you next weekend.